We'll go ahead and kick things off. Welcome to Pitch Perfect. Some familiar faces. Always good to see. That means you're trying to improve. New faces. Always a good thing as well. We'll have some fun. This is a safe zone for everybody. So we all learn from one another. Everyone checks their ego upon leaving they leave their ego in the waiting room. So please keep that in mind. This is intended for those that are going to participate in Start Peninsula. However, Start Peninsula is structured in a way that you will be able to use this no matter where you are on your business journey, especially as you continue to move forward with your startup and eventually talk to investors if you so choose to raise capital. But this is like stop number one. So a lot of people, when they say, where do I start? This is the place. So congratulations for being here. We will go over the 3-minute pitch. And what we're doing tonight is, there we go. Figure out my dual monitor setup. We're going to go over the elements of the pitch. So we'll talk about that for the first half of the session tonight, and then give you all the opportunity to practice. So that's what I'm talking about. Egos were checked in the waiting room. So we encourage people to practice. We all learn from one another, and that's really where the magic happens. So again, congratulations on being here. If you have not applied to pitch, you have to apply to participate in Start Peninsula. It is not, and the reason you have to apply, we just need to make sure that nobody's doing anything shady, fugazi, illegal, questionable. This is funded by the localities on the peninsula within Hampton Roads. We had some interesting people try to pitch before. And everybody was caught by surprise. We want to make sure that this is a positive representation. So when the winners are announced, there's not some crazy story that's going around the media that this company won. We can have a conversation over a drink about some of the companies, one company in particular that went through Start Peninsula. So once you apply to pitch, you'll be invited to pitch. We encourage you to secure that pitch position because every micro pitch is limited to 10 people. It's going to take place on April 19th via Zoom. By being here tonight, and then when you do pitch, we will refund your pitch ticket. I've talked about this several times before, but all the micro pitches sell out. So we want to make sure that those people that pitch, that everybody has a chance to pitch. Last thing we want is someone to apply to pitch and then they don't show up. And then that takes the spot away from someone who wants to pitch. So we will continue to approve pitch applications, and we will continue to approve until all 10 pitch tickets are accounted for. So secure your spot before they are gone. Every time it always happens, pitch tickets are gone, and then someone will say, "Oh, I was approved to pitch." Well, you were approved to pitch, but you missed your opportunity. So just like hotel rooms and airplane tickets, we will overbook because not everybody makes their flight, or not everyone checks into their room. So any questions about Start Peninsula before we move on? All right. How many
pitch tickets are left, Tim?
I think there's 5 left.
Yeah. Andrew just put it in my chat. I just want to make sure everybody saw that.
Cool. All right, so let's we're going to put 3 minutes on the clock, and we're going to break down what 3 minutes looks like.
Hey, Tim, should we tell people who we are first?
Oh yeah, I forgot.
We got so excited.
I'm looking at all the people on the screen, and I know everybody on the screen. So you all know who I am and why you should pay attention to what I have to say. I've been working with startups for the last 12 years. Started a business incubator in Williamsburg. That's where I met Gary. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of founders. I've helped founders raise millions and millions of dollars in funding. I angel invest myself, so I know what it takes from a business side, from both running an incubator, but also writing a check. So I am also the executive director of Start Wheel. If you're not subscribed to the Start Wheel newsletter, encourage you to do so. We connect you in with everything that's happening across the region. Also host a podcast. If haven't been on the podcast, you're invited to be a part of that as well. And recently started running a business incubator for technology companies for the city of Hampton. So if you're looking for a place to run your business out of, talk to me afterwards. Who are you, Gary?
My name is Tim Ryan, and I met Tim probably in 2015, and then we started working together on this in 2016, I think. And I have a business, it's a communication consulting business, and I got my business started in 1998 when there was no help, and there was nothing like what you're experiencing here. There was no pitch opportunities, there was nothing, and it was the wild, wild west. And my business has been functioning since then. So we're almost 25 years old. And so I just like to help because I didn't get any help. And so Tim and I teamed up, and I like to just be helpful. So Tim knows all the nuts and bolts about everything. And then I make sure that the ribbons are all tied properly and that it sounds good and looks good. So I'll give you feedback about those kind of things.
Oh, the pretty ribbons in your pigtails, Gary?
Pretty ribbons in my pigtails, that's right. And I used to live in Williamsburg, but I don't live there anymore. I live in Boone, North Carolina. And but since we're doing these virtually, I can still participate. So I come from the region.
And I will say that I think that we do a pretty good job. And I can say that confidently because typically a vast majority of everyone that goes on to win or advance attends Pitch Perfect. So we were 3 for 3 on micro pitch number 1. Just saying, that listen, take us to heart. We've seen the movie a time or two. We know how to write the script.
And let me also say, just really quick tag onto that we're going to give you feedback and ideas, and they're yours to use. And you don't have to use them if you don't want. They're just really the best practices that we've seen over the past 8 to 10 years. And so they should be helpful for you. And most of the people that listen to what we recommend do pretty well. So, but it's just feedback.
Yep. And we will not be offended if you don't take the feedback. Yours to do with it as you wish. So let's break down what 3 minutes looks like. This is before we start showing the timeline. These are suggestions. This is to make sure that you talk about everything that you should be talking about, and then just breaking this down in bite-sized chunks. So if you have a pitch prepared, that's great. If you don't have a pitch prepared, just take a piece of paper, take a pen, and just start writing down answers to this, and that will form your rough draft. This takes a lot of work. It's not going to be done tonight. It's not going to be close to being done tonight. This is done specifically 2 weeks before the micro pitch. That's intentional. So that gives you 2 weeks to continue to craft, move things around, because when you start adding everything that needs to be added, you will see how quickly 3 minutes goes by, and you want to make sure that you have the right stuff in there. So,
and we're going to send this out afterwards, Tim, right?
Yep, it's being recorded.
So I would recommend that if you're taking notes and everything, is to really don't worry about capturing every slide, because we're going to send you the whole presentation and the video, and you can see the slides then. Or if you want to snap a picture of them with your phone or whatever, but really spend your time jotting down ideas and how could you make this work, would be my suggestion on how you spend your time tonight.
Yeah, so we always recommend everyone start with an attention getter, 10 seconds. It is just that. It could be a quote, it could be a stat, it could be many things. I would recommend, as you say whatever that attention getter is, you round out what in one sentence that people can understand and remember what your business does. So 10,000 people may die if they don't get this virus, and you are the one that's going to solve it. So just whatever that one sentence is that's going to finalize getting everyone's attention, because that's how people are going to remember you. So 10 seconds to do that. Now you're going to talk, and now that you have everyone's attention, you're going to talk about the problem. The reason, so people have questioned this before, opportunity. Some people are pessimistic in terms of problems. Some people are optimistic. So they want to look at, this is the opportunity that I am able to provide to solve the problem. So opportunity, if for people that had a question before, this is just how you're addressing the solution at hand. So take 50 seconds. People that are not experienced at pitching, they will go really long in this. So I caution you not to go really, really long. Because this is where people will not waste, but they'll talk about this for 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, and then they don't get the rest of their pitch in. And then the judges, which there will be judges, don't have an opportunity to score you accurately. Speaking of scoring, this is the rubric. There is no secrets. We're not trying to make anyone look bad. So the points that we're talking here is that rubric, because this is what you're going to need from here on out as long as you're in business. So it's all about the problem that you are solving. Then you talk about the solution to said problem. Again, 50 seconds, just as a guideline. And when we talk about this, that needs to be easily understood. People have this misconception that the more technical that they talk, the smarter it makes them sound. And the smarter it makes them sound, then the increases the likelihood of them to get funded or advance, whatever the case is. Not the case. It needs to be understood, and we will get into this in more detail. Then you can talk about your name, because you've given people a reason to want to pay attention. They have your attention. You talk about the problem, you talk about the solution. They want to know who you are that is going to solve this issue, your name, your company. And then again, do that company one-liner, if you will. Then you have your target market. Knowing your customer is going to be key, because if you've got the solution, you need to know who and demonstrate how well you know your customer so that you can actually put revenue and make money around this. And then you have your closing. That's 10 seconds for your closing. And that could be your one-liner. So there's 3 opportunities to say your one-liner. And the reason that there's 3 opportunities, because some people feel like they need to put things in every spot. You don't have to put them in every spot. You're going to look to see how much time that you have as you start massaging this. But if you're confused in terms of what that closer could be, you could say, and my name is Gary Plaag, and I'm going to make everybody the best performer that has ever walked the face of the earth, whatever the case is. But the whole idea is you want to make them want more. This is the movie trailer. This is not the whole movie. So this is the meeting. In this case, the next meeting is going to the final pitch competition in November. But when you add everything up, that's your 3 minutes. That's how everything is rounded out. Some things to note for this. 99% sure this is the first time the judges have ever heard this pitch before. So you know this. You've been living this for however long that you have been working in this business. They don't. So you have to explain things in a way that they get it, they grasp it, and they understand it. The best way to do this, and you're going to hear me say the term, is a use case. How do you envision the customer using your product? So step back and think of and craft a story about someone that is using the product. Because people remember stories. I mean, for as long as humanity has been around, whether it is drawings on caves to the whole storytelling aspect from one generation to the next. That is how humanity has continued to pass things on. So it is through storytelling. So Gary's here for the storytelling and the performance aspect. This is every bit a performance and a story as much as it is a business pitch. I'm just telling you the details you need to put in from the business side. Gary's handling the performance and the story side. And if you look back at the three people that advanced in micro pitch one, or the people that everything's on startpeninsula.com or the YouTube channel, the people that do well are the people that associate stories with it. And the story is simply that use case, how a customer is going to use your product or service, and demonstrates how that pain point is solved.
And the little catchphrase to remember is that facts tell and stories sell. So we see people who, as Tim said, who do the story bit and have something people can easily understand, they usually do best. It's most understandable the most quickly.
So if you're curious what the rubric is, it is the problem, it is the solution, it is the target market, and it's your overall pitch performance. Those three things. Everything's rated on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 to 10. I'm not sure what it is, but those are the four things that you're going to be judged on. We're going to go over a little bit of the Q&A aspect as well, because that is equally as important. People have talked their way in through the Q&A, and people have talked their way out of the Q&A. So we'll touch on that towards the end. All right, so we'll jump into the problem. And here are some things to consider regarding the problem. Again, stick to the 50 seconds and don't go long. It is probably the most common thing that we see. Again, we cannot stress this enough. People are visual learners. So when they visualize this, they almost can feel that pain point that you're trying to describe. So what is that use case? Tell the story about whoever that person is. And then how big is the problem? So it's not just you, or it's not just Bill that is experiencing this. This many people suffer from whatever it is that you're describing. So it's interesting. We just did a fervent forward today, and I automatically was drawn to the number of people that have allergies in the United States. So you have to demonstrate and know how well you know your customer. So how big is that problem? And that also will start to translate into the market. But everything, when you're pitching, everything that you're doing, you're either building credibility or you're losing credibility. So the more that you can add on to this, you're adding credibility time and time and time again. And then as soon as you don't know something, or you gloss over something, then you may take a step in the backwards direction in terms of gaining credibility and confidence of your audience. Anything you want to add about the problem, Gary?
No, I just think that it's important to, the second bullet point is to not go over. This is where people lose most of the time. And then they get to the end and they get time called, and they haven't really talked about the target market because they got all into the problem went on for 2 minutes. And so that's the area where most people get in trouble.
Yeah, which brings up a good point. So a lot of people think they need two or three different examples of the problem. One example is going to be just fine. Figure out whatever one is going to be the most impactful. Stick to that one. You don't have to try to justify what you're doing to every single person that could be in your audience. So that's another area where people tend to how they tend to go long.
And the other thing I would say is this last bullet point: how big is the problem? I mean, if it's something that hardly anyone is concerned about, then it's probably going to have a hard time getting traction. So the way that you describe it I'm not suggesting making things up, but the way that you describe it can help people to see that the judges especially that this is really a problem. You may not be aware of the problem, but this is why it's a big problem. So just, that's just the other piece. Is
Yeah.
it really a big deal?
And it doesn't necessarily, it could be a problem that is emerging. It's like not a problem today. You're in a startup and you're looking in the future. So if you're looking to move now, so you have, first mover advantage or something. But all right, you've got the problem. We're going to talk about the solution, and let's talk about the product in terms of the idea and the innovation behind it. Remember, the judges don't know you, and they don't know your business. So don't try to start on second base when they don't even know who you are, and skipping a step that way. Then they're just trying to play catch up and understand. And then as they're trying to understand, they're not listening to what you have to say. And then it's not going to end well. Is the problem big enough? Going along the lines of what Gary was saying, and you have to illustrate that this problem is worth solving, that people are going to pay for the solution that you have. And they're going to, because you're demonstrating how you're different, how you are better. And the key thing takeaway about this is not calling out your competition necessarily by name or dragging them through the mud. It's not like, oh, this place stinks. These guys are horrible. They don't do this. You really want to keep the focus on yourself, and what you are doing and why you are so much better than what is currently out there. And in terms of how much better your solution is, you really need to think about the 10x mindset, because if you want to change customer behavior, you need to be 10 times better than what is currently out there. So if you've got, I know some of the people in the audience. So like if you're doing short-term rentals, why are you don't necessarily have to call out Hilton or Airbnb or VRBO or whatever, but you can say, we have the flexibility that we're able to do this, or we're able to do that. We've talked to the customers and this is the feedback we receive, so we're able to do this in a different way, whatever the case is. And again, talking about the solution in the sense of in a way that people understand it, and that they are going to continue, that they at this point they should be picking up what you're putting down. They're buying what you're selling. They totally get it. So what did I miss, Gary? Anything you want to add?
The one thing that we have to remember too is that, and this goes along with, is a problem big enough, is that a lot of times people have a great solution for a non-problem. So Tim and I joke about it, that we'll hear people do their thing and then we go, wow, they got a solution looking for a problem. That it's really not a problem, but it's a great solution. It's a shame nobody is interested in that because it's not a problem. So that would be the other thing just to be cautious of. Are you creating a really great solution for something that's not really a problem? Something to think about.
Yeah, and I running at the risk of jumping ahead a little bit. This is a part where if you think that you're going to get some headwinds and some pushback, anticipating some objection, this is where you can like cut things off at the pass. So like if you are really, really early in your product development, that's okay. You need to talk about where you are and where you're going to be. Anything that you can think of in terms of like how you're going to be able to execute quicker and make this thing a reality. I mean, it's just like you can't leave the judges to or your audience to think, answer their questions without them being answered. If they answer them in their head, then it's generally not a good thing, because the judges only have the opportunity to ask one question. So if you're early, it's fine. You just say that you're early. If you only have one or two users, then you only have 1 or 2 users. This is this is a platform to validate your business idea. This is not a platform that you're expected to have 10,000 users. So identify that stuff and don't shy away from it.
Can I add one more thing? Because we're talking about, in this area of the solution, we're talking about explanations. You're explaining how you're going to solve this problem. And so something to remember, I'm going to put it in the chat here for everybody, but this is the key to really effective explanations. So clarifying explanations anticipate confusion. So when you're creating an explanation about your solution, anticipate where the people listening to it might get confused. And then make sure your explanation doesn't confuse them. So that's a thought for you that may be helpful, is just anticipate where someone's going to get confused and then build your explanation so that they're not confused. And that has a bit of a psychological impact on them as well, because you'll answer the thing and they'll go, oh, I was just gonna wonder about that, but they just answered that for me. So now they can continue to listen to you. So just a pointer.
Yeah, and I guess to further clarify myself, in terms of like, if you've got a product that may have to have FDA approval or something like that, what things can you do today? Yeah, I mean, just making sure that these are the things that we're able to do today that help solve the problem in terms of like your MVP. You're not being evaluated on your final product, what it's going to look like 10 years down the road. But like, this is, hey, right now we are doing everything on an Excel spreadsheet, which is an improvement from the clipboard that we were carrying around 6 months ago. But we're going to transition from an Excel spreadsheet to the next phase, which is going to lead to the next phase. So, I mean, it's just, hopefully that provides a little bit more clarification in terms of like, hi, Michelle, it's good to see you. I'm going to use you for an example real quick. So like micro pitch 1, they asked Michelle about, how are you going to scale the business? And it was like, in one sense, it was a question to show that the judges were really, really interested in what was being pitched. But like the other thing is like, hey, this is like, we're starting with location 1 so that we can master location 1, that we find out like, how do we have to tweak future plans? How do we determine, is this enough square footage, what the layout needs to be? So step 1 is to like figure out the blueprint that's going to be used for location 2, 3, 4, 5, and all the way down the line. So that's another thing in terms of like the solution. It's just like, we're starting on first base as well, where you have to get to second base to third base, but first things first. All right. The way to do everything is going to be through your team. So your team is going to be really, really important. Things to consider there is you want to make sure that you showcase your strengths. A lot talking about yourself, bragging about yourself is things that make people uncomfortable. They don't necessarily like to do it. There are some people that love to do it. I am not one of those people. But don't underestimate what you bring to the table and what your team brings to the table. One thing that I want to touch on is even if that means you're a second time founder, a third time founder, what you have learned that first or second time that wasn't successful is really, really valuable. That is a strength, and that is something that you should not be afraid to admit or let people know. From an investor standpoint, I would rather bet on someone that this is their second or third time, because they're not going to make the same mistakes twice, or at least I hope they're not going to make the same mistakes twice. So the things that they've learned along that journey are really, really important. And again, get ahead of that and say, hey, this is not my first time. This is my second time out. And I learned so many things the first time that I tried this, and now this is my time. So showcase your strengths. Why are you the person? Why are you the team to do this? This really is getting into the why of what you're doing this. We talk about you bet on the jockey, not the horse. So it's really, really important. I know for me, as an investor, I look at the team, and when they have that conviction that they are going to make this happen, that they wake up every single day and all they think about is solving this problem or providing this product and service, that's what I'm looking for. You're not looking for someone who is chasing an opportunity, running off to San Francisco during the gold rush to try to pan for gold, because when that doesn't work out, you're going to go someplace else. The team is super, super important. Gary, what else you got? You always jog things and make me remember other stuff. I appreciate people that attend multiple pitch perfects, because there's like so much to say that not all the information is the same from one pitch perfect to the next. So we remember things that we didn't necessarily remember the time before.
No, I think this is why this is good, because we see people who they feel like they're bragging if they talk about their team, or they have some people they want to hide people, and we don't. I mean, you got to tell people that you've got this. You've got people that can help you. You're not just in the wild, wild west hoping you get it done yourself. You've got a team, and I think if you can share the team, it's a good idea. And if you can share what the strengths are, it's not bragging. It makes the judges feel like, oh, this is a viable business idea, or it's actually a viable business. So I think we should support it. So I would not be shy about telling people that you got it going on.
Yeah, and the same holds true if you're looking for a co-founder, or if you're looking to build out your team. This is a great opportunity to do that as well. One, you never know who you're going to find, and two, it shows leadership in the sense of, hey, I have a weakness in this area. I'm trying to find someone to offset this weakness so that we can make our team that much stronger when it comes time to take the next step. So don't miss out on that opportunity as well. The marketability, things to consider there, identifying your customer. I mean, again, we've touched on this. You have to know your customer inside and out. The more you know your customer, it is just so, gosh, I love talking to founders that know their customers. I mean, demonstrating the understanding of the market size, knowing who that target audience is. I mean, like to the smallest detail. It is only going to gain credibility with you. And the only way you're going to understand who your customers are is by getting out and talking to people. And so many people are afraid to go and talk to customers or potential customers because they don't want to get the feedback that they don't want to hear. But it doesn't work that way. It only takes a couple customers, and if you provide them with the best experience that they've ever had, you hit the 10x aspect, that it's just going to grow. It's going to continue to grow and grow and grow. This is not a platform to make you feel pressured or to belittle you because you don't have all of those the customers in place. It's the exact opposite of this. We want to guide you so that when you start this journey, you're asking the right questions. You're getting out there and you're talking, but your customers are going to tell you everything, whether if it's age, gender, how much money they make. You're going to go after iOS, the iOS platform versus Google Play, because you have a higher end product, and history shows that people spend more money on the Apple App Store than they do Google Play. I mean, whatever the case is, you have to know it, understand who that target market is, how much do they spend on average. Your customers are going to tell you everything, and the more that you know about them, the better off you're going to be. So have a really, really small focus. You can't be all things to all people. It does not work out well. Again, that is going to discredit you as opposed to build that credibility that we were talking about. And then how are you delighting those customers? Do you have users? Do you have customers? So really quick, a user is someone who doesn't pay. A customer is someone who does. If you invite someone to use your platform for free so that you can get feedback, that is a user. So don't confuse that terminology. But if you have testimonials, if you have something that people are saying or feedback that you've received, share that. That is going to build that credibility, that showing that you understand it, you're one step ahead of the game, and not to leave that information out. Gary? All right. So as everything is really, so you can see, this is a lot of information. To capture all this stuff in 3 minutes is not really, it's super challenging, because then we move on to the execution piece. Ideas are great, but it's all about the execution, and why is it that you are executing the thing that you are executing? Why are you solving the problem that you are solving? So what is your why? That is going to be the thing that you are tied to, that gets you out of bed in the morning, that keeps you going on the days, on your down days, your days that you just question why you're even doing this anymore, resorting back to that why, and not that this is just another part that when people speak from passion in their pitch, you can just sense it. This is just, to me, this is something that can't be faked. I mean, this is just, there needs to be that authentic piece to you that it just shows. I mean, it just, so really understanding what that why is, how you're going to make this a reality. Again, don't get bogged down on what version 10 may look like. Focus on what you can do today. So you may want to have a franchise with 10,000 locations that sells high-end whatever food, but can you start with a hot dog cart, and then can you go from a hot dog cart to a food truck, and then from a food truck to location one? It's just, how can you make this a reality? What does that roadmap look like? How are you going to get from one place to the next? And again, I mentioned this before, but investors, they invest in the people that are going to do this, not the idea. There are so many ideas. Ideas aren't going to what gets you where you need to be. It has to be the execution of whatever problem that you are solving. I mean, it is just that simple. I hear
Just an example of that, I'm just thinking here where I live, this person wanted to make, I think she makes biscuits or something, breakfast things, and she opened with a trailer, a little trailer that's on one of the main roads in and out of town. And she's been there for a couple of years, and it's successful, and she's added things. And I believe that she's got a brick and mortar place going up right on our main street in this little town, and everyone's excited about it. But she tested that and executed with one little trailer and certain biscuits and stuff. Is she trying to compete with the big biscuit franchise? No, she's got a perfect location right downtown, and it's brilliant. But she didn't just go get a brick and mortar on the corner of Main Street. She had started with a trailer. So that's just a case in point.
Cool. We had touched on this a little bit before, but what are your needs? What are the things you're looking for? Do you need a co-founder? Do you need a software developer? Do you need a marketing person? Do you need whatever it is that you need? This is a great opportunity. So if for whatever reason you need to fill 10 seconds on your pitch rather than cut short at 2 minutes and 50 seconds, it's great time to pitch something that you're looking for. Again, this is just one of these things where it demonstrates strength, because it's just, you have to be coachable when you're when you're a founder. And if you act like you know everything, then people aren't going to help you because you already know everything. And so I'm not going to waste my time on trying to help someone who already knows it all. So that is that. I didn't realize. Yeah. So again, the thing about entrepreneurship that I love so much is that people, everyone wants to help you win. Everybody wants to help you succeed. But if you don't tell anybody how you can help them or how they can help you, they're not going to. And it's just an opportunity missed, and vulnerability.
And this is the whole vulnerability conversation as it just popped up. Yeah, you got to tell people, you got to be open about what you need.
And people will be there. You'll be amazed.
I remember when I was starting my business and I told a friend I wanted to do this. And I remember we're walking through an airport or something, and he said, tell people what you need and they will help you. If you don't tell them, they have no way of helping you. And you'll just be alone and living in an echo chamber. So tell people what you need and they will help you. And this is a perfect opportunity for you to do that. No one's expecting you to have a business that's up and running and making 7 figures this year. That's not what this whole thing is about. So just take your armor off and be vulnerable and tell people what you need.
Yep. So what are the tricks to the trade of the trade, Gary?
Is to have a bunny rabbit.
Yeah.
The trick is everybody should have a bunny, and then when you get nervous, you just hold the bunny and pet the bunny, and then you'll feel better. No, one of the tricks is you got to practice, and it's not. What's the old joke is, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? And it's practice, practice, practice. And so you have to practice. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They want to spend all of their time making their slides and practicing every word exactly the way they're going to say it, which is important. The thing they don't practice is what they look and sound like when they deliver the pitch. And they just do it all. Oh, it's so stupid. I'm not gonna say any, I'm not gonna do it out loud. I'm not gonna do that. Well, just set, or I say set your phone up, or if you have Zoom and you can record yourself and do your pitch and then go back and watch it. And then after about the 5th time, you'll stop cringing and you can actually look at it objectively and say, wow, if I was in the audience, what would I say about that? So that's a big deal, is you got to practice. And many people don't do it, or they wait until the night before. And I coach people on this all the time in my business. And I'd rather you got a couple of good nights sleep and ate well. And when you're sleeping, when you practice before you go to bed, it runs in your head. And that's just, and you're practicing while you're sleeping. So, but waiting until the last minute and staying up until 3 a.m. to practice, not a good idea. We always say don't start with a question because it wastes time. And especially questions like, how many people have ever flown in a helicopter? Well, newsflash, you're going to be on Zoom, so you're not going to see anybody. And so no one's going to say anything and you're not going to get any hands. And so a rhetorical question could work. You know, maybe something like, consider, have you ever thought of what it would be like to talk to someone from history? Well, we have this program that blah, 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 blah. You know, okay, those kind of questions could work, but actual questions, they waste time. Don't do that. The next piece, don't start with your name, because we don't care who you are until we have a reason to care. So when you give us an opening thing that really startles us, it's a statistic of some kind, and we go, wow, I never thought of that. That's really crazy. And I really wonder how this person's going to solve that. And wow, blah, blah, blah. And then the person says, my name is so-and-so, and tonight I'm going to tell you about this. Oh, okay. Now I'm interested, but I'm not interested when you just tell me what your name is. I will forget. The good thing about Zoom is your name's going to be on the thing anyway, but sometimes it's good just to say who you are, but not first. A friend of mine is a speechwriter for a senator, and he used to come and talk at when I was teaching in college, and he would come and speak to the group. And one of the things he always talked about was, when you're a writer, a speechwriter, you have to be willing to kill your darlings, because the stuff that you write, you just think is the best. And if you're not willing to kill it, then it's not worth printing and it's not worth saying. So he said when in that job, he got really, really good at being able to kill his darlings. So if it's not relevant to the story, get rid of it. That's the big deal. If it's not adding, if it's just going on and on and on and not helping anything, get rid of it. Tim mentioned this before. It's a story and it's a performance. It doesn't mean that we want you to act. It means that we want you to tell your story from your heart, let us see the passion that you have, but know that we're watching to you for it. I love it when people go, I'm really excited about this idea. And you just watch that and you go, really? It doesn't look very exciting. You don't look like you're excited about it. So it is a performance from that perspective. It's got to have energy. It's got to have a forward motion. It's got to, if you can weave all the things that Tim and I are talking about into this, it's going to be great. And people are left, especially the judges, are left with, wow, this person really knows his or her stuff. They really are into this. They're not afraid of it. They know where they're going. And so it is a performance from that perspective as well. And I don't know what's next. Oh, yeah, for every slide or line that you ask, you need to ask that question about, is it relevant? Does it add anything? Is it enhancing what I'm saying? And also on the slides, I encourage people to do what I call a 6x6 rule, which is number one, before I even say that, more pictures better, graphs better, graphs that people can actually see and understand really quickly better. If you're going to have text, not more than 6 lines on a slide and not more than 6 words on a line. Because if we're reading your slide, we're not listening to you because we can't multitask. So really, really think about, am I doing this and making it available to the people who are watching? I also would encourage you, the technology allows us to do this now, only show us what you want us to see when you're talking about it. So if you want to use the appear animation feature, then use the appear. Show us this line, talk about that line, or talk about the line first and then show it. Talk about the next one and show it. Next line, show it. But and then we get the idea that you are actually running the presentation and it's not running you. And if it doesn't enhance your story, get rid of it. It goes back to killing your darlings, right? If it detracts, get rid of it. Get rid of it. Cool?
Yeah. I mean, because you can see there's a lot of information to consider and include in 3 minutes. And so that the last 2 sub-bullets about enhancing or detracting, it's a matter of arranging everything, combining things, taking stuff away, adding this, deleting that, shuffling that. I mean, it just takes a lot of massaging and moving around to get everything where it needs to be. The other thing when it comes to practice is like every single person that you see, hey, do you have 3 minutes? Can I run my pitch by you? And when you're done, just listen. And if the same question is asked multiple times, you have a hole in your pitch and that needs to be addressed. So just when you thought you had 3 minutes all figured out, and then you have 5 people that ask the same question, guess what? It's back to the drawing board all over again. So people think that it's so easy and they're going to wait to the last minute and it will show, but not you all here. You're all going to do great. What questions do you have?
I've got a couple. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
So when you were talking about the one-liner, would you recommend using like unicorns as a way to translate? So, I mean, I'm in housing, but I'm thinking of another startup that I've heard of, and they describe themselves as the Groupon of outdoor experiences, right? So it's a marketplace to do stuff outside. Is that a one-liner that's in my mind, that's super accessible because it gives me a frame of reference for what they're going for, because I know Groupon. Is that something you guys recommend or not? Because more than likely for me, I'll be pointing to a larger housing competitor.
Yeah, that's really, I've seen things go both ways on that.
But
And
like, I
that's,
guess when you say one liner, is the idea to try to make it to make it accessible, or to like sell it, or to like, is it your value prop?
it's more your value prop than anything. It would be, like, if you can summarize your business in one sentence that people are going to get it, remember it, and like, as soon as they hear it, then it just, everything then just floods back to them. Like, yes, yeah, I now remember that whole pitch. Almost like a one sentence tagline, if you will.
Yeah, it's an attention getter. It's so that I'm interested, because I will have heard, wherever you pitch, the other person has already, everybody heard this great idea. Well, now it's your turn. And so you go, how am I going to get these people to change gears and listen to my idea now? So this is a long one, but I remember this infectious disease specialist at a hospital system, and her opening line, she didn't tell us her name. She just said, we did a what if scenario in the hospital system here, and we discovered in the greater Washington, D.C. area, if 3 people contracted smallpox, within 30 to 45 days, 3 million people would be dead. And then she just let it sit there, and now everybody wanted to hear, how do we not do that? Like, what do we do if that happens? So I'm not saying you have to scare everybody to death, but everybody was very interested in, oh.
Well, I understand the attention grabbing piece, but
Yeah.
if bringing up this line 3 times,
And it's not necessarily 3 times. It
no,
could,
I know,
yeah.
but the point is to be reiterating it and to be familiarizing the audience with your idea. And, obviously there are some ideas that are a lot sexier than others. And so that's why I'm thinking, like, if you can compare it to an existing, Groupon for the outdoor, Groupon for the outdoor is like, at least that's like a really like super simplifying your business idea. But I don't know if it's like recommended or not. So anyway, I'll have to chew on that.
But I would also ask customers too, or potential customers, whoever you're talking to, like, does this resonate with you? Does this, because like, who is your target audience? I mean, is it going to be people that want to save money on outdoor things, or is your target audience going to be people that are like really bougie, like Gary, that is just not something that he's concerned with? So,
what else? I had another question. So this is only 3 minutes. How do you mention progress at all? I have a feeling that, and I saw the last pitch competition, that usually comes up in the questions, like, where are you in the process? So the idea being that in 3 minutes, you don't touch that right now. And then if it's brought up.
yeah.
Or
And
part of your execution.
Yeah, exactly. And because if that, to me, that would be that's exactly right. It'd be part of the execution. This is what we've done so far.
Because again, if you can answer that question that they're going to have before they have it, then there's a psychological thing that happens and they go, oh, well, the last 3 people didn't say anything about that. And now I know you're an existing business, or you're well on your way, or whatever. It's a subliminal check mark for them.
Right.
And it doesn't take very long.
Okay.
And everyone is, in terms of like, it's a level playing field. So everyone's starting at the same place. So by design, anybody that's gone through an accelerator or has raised more than like 25,000, I think is what is on the application. We don't want people to take a step back. We want everyone to have like a level playing field, in the sense of everyone starting from the same spot. So if you have 200 people or 1,000 people on your waiting list, that would be, again, part of like the execution, that you're out there, you've talked to customers, and now people are waiting for this.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. My last question is that I am a solo founder right now, which I feel like is a weakness. And so I know I need to talk about myself and my experience behind this idea, but that's also part of my ask, is I'm actively looking for a co-founder. how I'm happy to just like bring myself up, but then at what point is the ask? Is that at the end? Is that part of the questions? I mean, I don't want to be like, by the way, you can help me with this
Yeah.
during my pitch.
I would touch on that during the team portion. So like right now, I am the team. However, I am in the process of looking for this type of person and that type of person, so that we can move twice as fast or whatever or offset the skills that we need to accomplish X, Y, or Z. I would do it in the team.
Okay. So, because it feels like it defeats like it might undermine the pitch a bit if I only have 3 minutes and part of it's saying this is where my weaknesses are.
And again, yeah. So like this is as you're thinking all through this, now you can see like if you've got other strength stuff that you want to showcase, you want to highlight those positives as opposed to trying to force in something that could be perceived as a negative. So it's like that would be something that you could gloss over. That could be one sentence. Right now, I am the team. I am the founder. I'm actively looking for people that shares the same passion that I have to solving this problem, and I'm looking for a co-founder. And just keep on going.
Got it. Well, because I know it's part of the rubric, so I can't like totally.
Well, and you never know who's listening to this competition, who hears that and goes, oh, well, I have a connection that could help this person. And then they contact you. But again, it goes back to what I said earlier. If you don't tell people what you need, they can't help you.
Totally.
And just to clarify, team is not on the rubric. So
it's not.
No. This is just.
Oh, it's your name. It's your name is part of the rubric. Is that right?
No, it's the problem, the solution in your market.
Problem, solution, your market. Okay.
And target market.
And then the quality of the pitch. So the team is part of this. That's a sub bullet as part of the solution. That we're going to be able to solve this problem because we have an awesome team that's able to do it.
Got it. Okay.
And you can always couch those things as not as a weakness, but as the next opportunity is to grow this leadership team. Because I now know that the concept works. And I'm ready to move to expand this.
Yep. And everybody knows the cliche, hire slow, fire fast. So no one's going to hold anything against you for taking your time to hire the right person. Yep.
Right. Okay. I think that was all my questions. Thanks.
Awesome.
Oh, you're welcome.
We've had people in the past that are like, will say that they have like 30 years of aerospace expertise and they hold 10 patents. And it's like, that would come up in the question and answer period. It's like, and you didn't bring this up, why? During your pitch? But speaking of Q&A, if anyone has a question, jump in. But Q&A, once you're done with your 3-minute pitch, each judge will ask a question and you have 2 minutes to answer that question. That is also timed. That is by design to teach you all to get in the rhythm of how to answer a question. Some people can be really, really verbose when they answer a question. So by timing people with only 2 minutes, it forces you to be in a position to just answer the question at hand and not over answer. So that is the purpose for that. And I see that as by doing this, most people shine in the Q&A aspect because this is when that passion naturally comes out. None of this is scripted at this point. Yeah, I mean, it's just like the only thing that really can come out at this point is your true authentic self, because you can try to prepare for the Q&A and Gary will say, think about whatever question is going to scare you to death in the biggest way and prepare an answer for that. But even then, you still don't know what is going to be asked, especially like we rotate who's able to ask, like the order the questions are asked. And more times than not, it's like, oh, this person just stole my question. So now I need to ask another question. And there's no telling what that other question is going to be, as opposed to saying, pass. My question was just asked. But I would leverage the Q&A aspect as that's a strength opportunity.
And just to clarify that, so you'll finish your pitch and then I'll say, okay, grab something to capture the questions, and then we'll just go down. Judge 1, what's your question? Judge 2, what's your question? Judge 3, you write them down or capture them somehow, and then I say, Tim's going to give you 2 minutes on the clock, and you go and answer them. Here's another clue, which I can't say the night of the pitch. But if you answer the 3 questions and you know there's something else you left out and you have an extra 30 seconds, put it in. You can do that. And sometimes we just sit in silence for 15 seconds, and that's just wasting your time. So you have to be, it's kind of like the ice skater that leaves out a jump and then has a little bit of extra music at the end of their program, and they throw in the triple whatever that they have to have because it's required. So I would say, don't ever make Tim tell you you're done. But if you got extra time, if you answer all 3 questions in a minute and you got an extra minute, then tell us more stuff.
Because there's there's always that thing like, oh darn, I wish I would have put this in here. I skipped this
Right.
line.